Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna do like the third and final video in my little finance series that I've been partnering with NerdWallet for. So today we're gonna talk all about savings. I asked you guys on Instagram for some questions, so we're gonna answer some of them. I'm also gonna show you guys some of the things that I think might be helpful on NerdWallet's website. The goal of these videos have really been to just kind of like normalize the conversation about money more. Like I say all the time, like I feel like money is one of those things that everybody needs to know about but nobody wants to talk about. So this is like a casual, friendly chat between two girlfriends about money. I am going to talk about just like Joe and I and how we do things, and just some things that we're kind of flirting with now with some of our savings and how we better use that money to serve us in different ways. So we're going to get into all of that. I think it should be pretty interesting. For the most part, you don't really have to watch me. You can just like put me on in the background and listen to me like a podcast. So let's jump into it and then we'll do questions. So of course, the first thing that I want to do is start off by thanking NerdWallet for sponsoring today's video. I'm going to link the other videos that I've done with them down below in the description box, as well as some other financial related videos that I've done. But the last one was all about like home buying tips, and then the one before that was kind of related to savings. It was more about like how specifically we save for travel and like using like travel rewards cards to get points and all of that. So those might be interesting to you guys. If you want to check them out, they'll be down below in the description box. But I'm gonna actually open up my computer. I'm gonna do a little screen share of some of the things that I think might be helpful for you guys that I've been looking at, because obviously if you are watching this video, it's because you want to know about savings, you want to know about how to maybe better budget, or how to end up with a little bit of more like a cushion in your savings account, all of that. And I think that NerdWallet is a great resource for all of that. So I'm just going to take you guys to do this really quick, and then you guys can go and look at it on your own. But NerdWallet has a website and they also have an app, so whichever way is like easier for you to like look through these things, they have both that you can choose from. So if you go up here to where it says our top picks and you click on best of banking, one of the things that's going to be super helpful that we're also going to talk about later on in the video, because it is something that Joe and I are looking at right now, is looking into some kind of a high yield savings account. So if you click on this is going to show you just some of the different savings accounts that are going to give you a little bit more money, like more interest, so that your money can grow. So these are all picked out by NerdWallet, and you can learn more about each of them. They have like a NerdWallet rating. They tell you more or less like what the percentage yield is, because I don't know about you guys, but for the most part, a lot of the money that I have in like a savings account, like when we talk about savings accounts, you have like your checking account in your bank, and then you have a savings account. That's what I mean by like a regular savings account. That savings account doesn't grow at all. Like there's like maybe 16 cents every month that it grows, and if it grows by like 16 cents, I'm thrilled. Like there's no real like interest that's growing in like a regular savings account. So that's one of the nice things about a high yield savings account, is that it's a way for you to have access to that money without like tying it into like investments and all of that, so that you have access to that cash, but it's actually growing a little bit better than in just a regular savings account. So that is something that Joe and I are going to be looking at, and we'll kind of talk about that there when I talk about like all the different buckets that we have like our money in. But this is definitely something that's worth checking out. So there's that. Also, if you go over here to guides and tips, if you click on spending and savings, there's a lot of really good information here. If you just want to learn more about budgeting, there's ways to make money online, offline, how to save money, all about spending and saving. So how to save money, there's a bunch of different ways here that they list that I think are worth just kind of going over. Things like tracking your spending, which is something that I always recommend. If you guys haven't already watched my video on like our envelope system and how we manage our money, I highly recommend that you go watch it, because I get into detail about how Joe and I track our money, and I credit that to like the fact that we have such a good handle on our money, that our money grows because we're not overspending. And I just think it's really important. But there's other things here that you might want to look at, like, you know, when it comes to grocery shopping and all of that, that I think can make a huge difference. So those are some tips there. And then if you go to calculators up on the top and you go to spending and savings, these are great calculators that you can look at. Savings goal calculators, budget worksheets, budget calculators. The one that I was looking at earlier was the savings goal calculator that I think is really helpful For example, like if you have a trip or something planned, like if you're planning on going to Hawaii and let's say that trip is going to cost you $10,000. Right now you have $0 saved for that trip and you plan on going in, I don't know, 5 months, then you're going to calculate like more or less how much you're going to have to save every month, and then that's pretty much what you're going to have to save. You're going to have to save almost $2,000 in order to, you know, meet your savings goal. Obviously you can just like divide by the number of months, but if you wanted like somewhere where you can go and just like play around with numbers, this is a great tool. So things like that you can definitely find on NerdWallet. That's all I'm going to say about them. They are just a great online resource for all things finances, and I'm just so grateful that they partnered with me for these videos to just give me another reason to talk about money. So all the info for them will be down below in the description box. Thank you to them. And now let's kind of keep going through some of the questions that you guys had. All right, so let's start off with just like how Joe and I manage our money in terms of like, how do we save for things? Where's our money at? I think that'll give you a better understanding of like how I answer some of these questions. So at a very basic level, first of all, the money that Joe and I make, it all is in one, like his money's my money's his money. We have all of our money together, so that's like first and foremost. Then as far as like how do we save for specific things, we do use that like virtual envelope system, the cash envelope system, but without actual cash. And essentially what we're doing is, let's say we have a trip planned. If I know that we're going to Disney, like we do have a Disney trip planned for sometime in December, or I think it's the end of November, that we're planning on going to Disney. So we have factored into like our budget, let's say, we have a certain amount of money that we're trying to hit, and then every month we're putting a certain amount of money towards that, but that's factored into our budget. After that though, there are other things that like randomly come up, like with the house, like the things that we did for like the house, like our blinds, that we got new blinds, the door, the screen door that we did downstairs. Those are things that like randomly come up, and we're only able to do those things because we have a certain amount of money in like our savings account, in our like bank, in our emergency fund, whatever it is that you want to call it, that we pull from. So that's like completely separate from our month-to-month like envelope. So essentially we have the money that's in our envelopes. We have like, you know, our envelopes for groceries, for clothes, like, you know, for the kids stuff, our spending money, anything specific that we're saving for, that's kind of considered our envelopes. And then on top of that, we have an emergency fund. Joe and I really busted our butts for a while to grow that emergency fund. So now I'd say that we have like a good 6 months of expenses saved in that emergency fund. And then on top of the emergency fund, we have another chunk of money that's kind of what we're trying to figure out what to do with now, because like we already have the emergency fund, we have this extra money. Yeah, I could go and spend it and blow it all off, but we don't want to do that. But we're trying to figure out what to do with it so that it's productive, so that it's growing. One of the reasons why I haven't like sent it all to like an investment account or something is because I do like to have some cash on hand. A lot of that money is money that's sitting there because I'm hoping to like use that as a future down payment for our next house. So some of it will stay there, but maybe I can move it to like a high yield savings account so that it's actually growing and not just sitting there. And with inflation and stuff, like the value of that money is going down every minute that it just stays there. So that's like the third bucket, I would say, of money. And then on top of that, Joe and I do have separate retirement accounts. So Joe has a retirement account that he's had through work, and I even had a retirement account from way back when I was working like my first job out of college. When I was working at the hospital, I was contributing to like a 401k, and it's amazing how years later, I haven't contributed to that account in years, like probably like 10 years. I haven't contributed to that account, and it's still growing and it still makes money for me, and that's, you know, really nice. That's like the most beautiful thing about compound interest, saving for retirement as soon as you can. So we have that retirement account too. So that's kind of like where our money is. The money in our envelopes is like stuff that we actively pull from, that we actively use to spend, to go to Target, to do groceries, vacation, like specific things that we are actively working towards or saving up for, things like that. And then we have the other buckets that I mentioned. So I hope you're still with me. I hope you follow. One of the things that I did see come up in the questions was like if we have anything saved for the kids for college, or if we've started some kind of like a some kind of, you know, college fund for them. We haven't yet. So that's something that now we're gonna work on. That's kind of like our next step, is finding some kind of college fund to save for them. I don't honestly know what's the best route to go. I don't know exactly where they're gonna go to college. Like when I went to college, my parents had paid for like the Florida prepaid college thing, and I ended up going to an in-state public college. So that fund, you know, paid for it. But like, what if we start a college fund for them here and then they go to school elsewhere? Like, I don't know how that works. So I still have to do some research into that. But at the same time, I'm not freaking out about it. I feel like there's plenty of time. I'm not planning on fully funding like a $100,000 tuition account for both of them. I just don't think that that's the route that I want to go in. Like, to be honest, I think that they need to work and they need to bust their butts too. And yes, it'd be nice to have something for them, whether it's to help them pay their first car, or like something to help them start their life. But I don't feel like, you know, all this pressure to like have a certain amount of money saved by a certain age. Like, what I can do for them, I will, and what I can't, then they need to go work and they need to go contribute and be adults. So that's kind of how I feel about that. So let's get into the specifics. Let me just answer some of the questions, because I know I've been rambling. It's just like I'm trying to explain to you guys like the basics of what I do for our money, and it would be helpful if you guys have seen those other videos, because it really like walks you through like step by step how we do stuff. I've even filmed a video before, like all of our expenses, like every single subscription that we have, what our mortgage is, what our grocery bill looks like all of our expenses. That's kind of helpful to know too. So I guess this is a good question to start off with. Somebody said, is it better to pay off your debt or to save for an upcoming expense? I kind of do a little bit of both. So first of all, it was really important for us to pay off as much debt as we could, and like that was a big factor for a while. Like right now, the only debt that we have is the house. But let's say you have a car bill, or you have student loans, or you have credit card debt. I do think it's important to pay that off as quickly as you can. But at the same time, I do think it's important to be saving up some money in like an emergency fund. Like things are gonna come up. Things are gonna come up that you're unexpectedly that you're gonna have to have some money to pay for. But I guess that question kind of depends. Like, save up for an upcoming expense or pay off your current debt. What's the upcoming expense? Like, if the upcoming expense is, oh, my trip to Hawaii, but you have like a crap ton of debt from college or in your credit card, then maybe you need to reevaluate the priorities and maybe not plan such an expensive trip to Hawaii. Like, does that make sense? Like, if it's something that is like, you know, an upcoming hospital bill or something that you need to obviously be saving for, then you kind of have to do a little bit of both at the same time. I wouldn't throw all of my money towards my debt and have nothing for a rainy day. But I think when you do have debt, you kind of have to be extra looking at what your expenses are and trying to eliminate those expenses as much as possible. Obviously, I know that that's not realistic for everyone. Things are expensive. You're not gonna like literally do nothing for the rest of your life until you pay off your debt. But then understand that you're gonna have debt for a lot longer of time, and it's really freeing when you don't have that. So that's just my general thoughts on like debts and expenses. So do you have separate savings accounts for different goals? That, I think, like the answer to that is yes, because if you look at the envelopes that we have, like our different spending categories, you know, we have envelopes for groceries, we have spending envelopes for kids, we have spending envelopes for Joe and I and all of that, but we also have envelopes for like our Disney trip. Our Disney trip is one of those little mini savings accounts. Christmas is another one of those mini savings account, and every month I put money in there leading up to Christmas or leading up to our Disney trip, and that helps me, like, when the time comes to buy stuff for Christmas, I already have that money in there. When the time comes for a Disney trip, the money's already there. We're not putting it on a credit card. We're not, you know, trying to figure out last minute how we're going to be able to pay for it. The money has already been allocated before that comes. So like right now when you're watching this, if you haven't already, I would recommend starting to think about Christmas. If that's something that you do, you're buying gifts, all of that, the holiday season, figure out, you know, how much more or less you want to spend. Do you want to spend $1,000? Do you want to spend $500? Like, what is it that you want to spend for all of that? And as of now, like, divide, like, how many months do we have left? We have like really September, October, November, maybe December. So figure that out, divide it by 4. And now all of those months leading up to Christmas time, set that amount of money away every month so that you're not like hit so hard come Christmas time. So we do have those like different accounts for different things. Something that I do too is like I have a little savings account in our budget every month for like our car. The envelope's called like automotive, but that essentially is like a sinking fund or a savings account in case we need new tires, in case we need an oil change. So I'm constantly putting money in there and not spending it on other things, so that the day that we do have like a big car purchase or a big car maintenance thing, the money's already set aside for that, which actually already happened to us this past month. Joe went and took his car in, and he's like, oh, well, it was like, I don't even remember how much, it was like $800 or something. Our entire envelope got wiped out, but it wasn't like a surprise thing that we had no money for, because we had been putting money away. So that's something that's really important to me, to us. So the next question is, do you keep your emergency fund in a regular account or invested somewhere? So the answer to that is we keep that in just our bank savings account. And it's maybe not the best option, but I want to have access to it, because if it's tied up in other things, maybe you don't have as much access to it. Again, I'm not a financial expert. This is just what we do, and every day I'm learning. I actually want to schedule a call with the people that do like my like 401k, like my retirement account stuff, to see if they can chat with me, so I can tell them like, hey, look, you know, I have, I don't know, $10,000 that I don't know what to do with. Where should I invest it? What should I do with it? And maybe they can help me. But usually there's some kinds of financial people that you can call and you can schedule a conversation with to kind of like tell you more or less where you should be putting some of that money to help you get a better return. Because again, like that emergency fund, those 6 months of expenses is literally like a nice big chunk of money, but it's just in the savings account. It doesn't grow, it doesn't do anything. So I need to really think about what we're doing with that money, because it's just sitting there. I mean, it helps me in the sense that I have the peace of mind knowing that it's there if I want to go and make a huge purchase, or if I want to do a house renovation, something for the house. Like, I have the cash there. I'm not taking out a loan or anything, but I know that it could be doing more stuff for us financially. So something I'm going to be looking into. So what can you do if your husband doesn't save money? This question is funny to me, honestly, because that's kind of the situation that Joe and I were for a really long time. I keep saying it, I'm the saver by nature. Joe is a spender by nature, even though you guys see me go to Target every freaking day of my life. Like, I can spend, like, don't get me wrong, I can spend, but I only spend stuff that I have. And at the same time, I'm not spending every penny that I have. I'm making sure that I'm saving every month. I'm making sure that we're contributing to like our overall like net worth. Like, I want to see us moving in a positive direction. Right now, we're just in a place, luckily, like God has blessed us in a way that right now, yes, we have extra money that we can do more fun things with, that I can go to Target, take the kids, and yes, I am very much enjoying that. It's not a secret, but I am the saver. Joe is the spender. Joe will literally, if I give him $500 for his like monthly spending money, he will go and spend it all like the first 3 days. Like, it's gone. Like, he made one giant purchase that was all $500. And I, on the other hand, would rather like spend like $10 here, $15 here, 40 bucks here. So I think honestly, the biggest thing that got Joe to like stop spending so much money, honestly, is tracking that money. And the minute that we developed a system where at the end of every month, I can tell him, look, last month, our net worth was this. This month, our net worth is this. Like, we are growing, like where we are financially is moving in a positive direction. And it's really nice to see that because it's really rewarding. You're like, oh, we're doing something right. We're getting to a place of more and more financial freedom. And if you're not tracking it, you almost get to a point where like, it's not real to you. Like, you don't feel it as much. You think to yourself, like, what's another 20 bucks here? What's another 100 bucks here? Like, it's hard to like really understand what those choices that you're making every day like what the impact of it is if you're not tracking your money, if you don't have any budget in place, if you don't have any way to look back on your progress, to see progress, to set goals. So once you get that in place, I feel like it's a lot easier to save, because you're more likely to be like, oh, well, like I want to do better than we did last month, so maybe we do save. And it kind of becomes like a fun thing to do together. So that's my advice on that. So the best or the quickest way to save money in a relationship when only one of you is working. So this one is like, I get it, especially when you're living on one income. It is hard to save. And there were days when Joe and I first got together where I was making pennies. Like my first job, I was making like $11 an hour. I took a huge pay cut when I went to work in advertising, and I think I was living with Joe at the time. But point is that we were making like pennies compared to like now when I'm working and he's working. So we did have to be a lot more careful with what we were spending. And you know, we weren't able to just go to Target and go on trips, and like there was a lot of sacrifice that we were making so that we didn't get like in over our heads. Like during that period, we could have been like, you know what, I still want to live a certain lifestyle, I still want to go shopping all the time, I still want to go wherever, let's just put it on a credit card, and then we'd still probably be paying off those credit cards today. But instead, we kind of lived within our means, and we're in a much better place today for it. So point is, like, I know that it's hard to save when only one of you is working, when your income is less than maybe you would want it to be. But I think like one of the most practical ways to save money, honestly, is through food, is like watching your grocery bill, is planning out your meals. Because even for us, like, we spend so much money, like when we DoorDash, when we Uber Eats, like it's ridiculous. For the both of us, we spend like 60 bucks between like tip and delivery fee and service fee and all of that in our meals. Like when we order out, it's a crap ton of money. And instead, like if we decided, you know what, that same meal, like if we were to go to Costco, buy stuff in bulk, make chicken, make some rice, make some beans, like we would pay a lot less for our meals if we did that. So I think one of the things that you can do is to like get scrappy, meal plan, like know what you're gonna eat, look for the best deals. I think that food is a big part of your spending. Like when I talk about money, I talk about fixed expenses and variable expenses. And fixed expenses are the things that aren't gonna change. That's like your mortgage, your light bill, things that every month is gonna be the same. If you pay utilities, like all of those things for the most part, unless you get a new house, unless you move in with your parents, like those are fixed things. Variable expenses are the groceries, is eating out, is going to Target, is buying new clothes, like all of the variable stuff that you have control over. So if after paying your bills, you have some extra money that's variable money, track it and start controlling it better, and find ways to save. Even if it's like $5, $10, like it makes a difference. And one of the fun things that you can do too is like you can go on Pinterest and there's like a bunch of like savings, I don't know what you call them, like if they're games, they're not necessarily like games, but different like savings like challenges, right? Like savings challenges where every day, like maybe on day one you save $1, on day two you save $2, and like you'd never realize how even just saving $1 a day, or you know, going through those challenges, like every day it's a little bit of money, but at the end of the year it's like over $1,000. Like it's very cool. So maybe you can make that like a challenge for you and your family. And if you make it something that's like a priority to you, and like you get excited every time that you reach a new goal, I feel like that's one thing that you can do to kind of get everybody like on board with it. So this I'm just gonna touch on really quick because I don't think I talked about it. Like when I mentioned our retirement accounts, I did want to make it a point to say that we have our 401k. Joe has his TSP because he works for the federal government, so he has that. That's like his retirement account. I have a 401k, but I also have, some of it is like a regular 401k, some of it is in a Roth account. So some of it is in a Roth IRA. The Roth is great because I've already paid taxes on it. So that's one of the benefits of having a Roth, is that like when we go to pull it out one day, like when I'm 65 years old or whenever it is that we can get the money, I don't have to pay any taxes on it. The stuff in the regular retirement portion of it, we do have to pay taxes on. So I kind of diversify some of it between the Roth and the regular. Like there's limits to how much you can contribute. And again, all of this is stuff that you want to take the time to speak to some kind of a financial advisor. It's worth the time to get your money right. If you have 3 hours to sit on your phone and look through Instagram, you have, you know, an hour to book a call with a financial advisor, because the sooner that you start getting your money right and in the right places and being, you know, saved in the right accounts, the faster your money's gonna grow, and like the faster you're gonna get to a place of, you know, being in a good financial spot. So it is important. It should be something that's like pressing and a priority, because it does make a big difference, like getting it right soon. So I told you guys to ask me like personal questions, and this person said, what's the most you've ever had in your savings account? So I will tell you that between our emergency fund, or 6-month expenses emergency fund, and that extra money that I'm trying to figure out what to do with, we have like a good, like I don't have the exact numbers, but we have about 100K there. And that's money that is sitting there that's either going to be for a down payment, that's either going to be for, you know, like our emergency fund. It can be used for something that has nothing to do with like our spending envelopes, that has nothing to do with our saving for Disney, saving for Christmas. That's like the extra money that's there. And it's, you know, it's something that I'm proud of, because we've been busting our butts, and, you know, we paid off my car really quickly. So before I was putting a lot of money towards my car, now any extra money goes towards like that fund. So that gives you an idea. I mean, we're not millionaires. We don't have like millions of dollars sitting there. I think that we still try to live within our means, but we do have a good amount of money saved so that we can use it in the future if we want to buy a house back down in Miami one day. I know that the cost of living in Miami is going to be much more than it is here. Like I've already told you guys, the amount that we'd have to pay for a mortgage in Miami is going to be like 2 or 3 times what we pay here. So I'm factoring all of that into like our decision making now, so that we don't overspend now, so that we have money for later and in the future. But again, a lot of questions just saying it's so hard to save. I'm married, mama of 1 child. What tips do you use to save? I still try to find ways throughout our day to save money. Like my newest thing is going to the library now. The best outing ever. You don't pay anything. I've been getting cookbooks from the library, and I feel like that's super helpful, so I don't pay for books pretty much now. I used to like spend a ton of money on books. Now I'm like, every week I take the kids, we get new books. So things like that you can get crafty on. There was a time when I was a big couponer. I used to love that. I would clip coupons, I would find all the deals, I would go to CVS, I would go to Walgreens, I'd get all of the BOGOs at Publix. Like I live for that stuff. Now I don't have as much time to do it, but there's nothing wrong with any of that. I used to go thrifting all the time. To me, it's like an exciting thing when I can get a good deal, when I can shop around, when I can find stuff on clearance and thrifting. Like that is the best. So you have to get a little creative. The biggest thing though is like, what's eating the biggest portion of your paycheck, right? Like the money that you bring in, what does most of that go to? Is it your mortgage? Is it your rent? Like maybe you need to be in a smaller place. Like if all of your money is going towards rent, that sucks. Like I've talked about like being house poor before, where like most of your income is going towards just putting a roof over your head. That leaves a lot less money for food and for clothes and for any fun things. Like, and I know, like I don't want you to think that I don't know that that's the reality for a lot of people. Like it is, but you just try to do what you can, you know, and what areas you have control over. If like, you know, food is a big one, like I said. If it's clothes for your kids, try to shop at the end of a season where you can get stuff on clearance, buy it for the next season. Like there's a lot of things that you can do. I think I actually have a blog post that I wrote years ago that's like 50 ways to save money or something. I'll see if I can link it in the description box just to give you other ideas. All right, my battery's about to die, but I'm gonna answer one more question. So this person was saying like, how much of your income do you save every month? So this is something that I don't know, I don't have like the exact number, but I will tell you like just an example. So if Joe and I every month make $10,000 and our expenses are like $3,000, again, I don't even know where I got these numbers. Then that means that we have $7,000 for our variable money, money to play with, money to save, or money to put towards groceries, towards spending money. Like, that's the money that we can now do something with because it's not going towards a bill. So of that $7,000, I'm never going to allocate all $7,000. There's always going to be like an extra $1,000 that I put towards our saving, at the very least, like an extra $1,000 that I'm not touching, I'm not doing anything with, and that helps our savings to grow. Like, I don't care if you make $1 million a month, I don't care if you make $5 a month. Try to see if you can just save a little bit of it, like just a little bit of it, even if it's $5 or $10. That all adds up, and you should never be in a position where you're spending every single penny that you're making. So that is it for this video. If you guys have more questions, leave them down below if you want to see a part 2. This is just me chatting while the kids are napping, answering some of your questions, but I hope that that was helpful. I hope it gets you at least moving in the right direction. The biggest thing is to track it, you guys. So binge watch some of the other videos. If you have any questions about those, let me know, DM me, all of that. But thank you to NerdWallet for sponsoring today's video and for letting me nerd out about this for a bit. And that is it. I love your freaking faces. Thanks for being here. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.